anyways,
Yeah.
back to politics.
Anyway,
Here's a what, where segment. I had the pleasure today to sit in on a meeting. You know, these things sort of happen in communities where, you know, the big wigs, all the influential people that are part of social clubs and service organizations, whatnot. We had a chance to meet with our newly re-elected state representative in the Massachusetts House of Representatives, Mr. John Zlotnick. He was graced us with his presence at Rotary Club today. And I say it's a segue because much of the conversation, the less formal part of the conversation, really had to do with his thoughts on what economically is holding the city back.
okay.
And I'm wondering if you just have any, maybe we can play a game, like
The
see if you
city
have
of Gardner?
The city of Gardner. Yeah, we really focused on Gardner. We didn't once mention any of the other cities in the district because, you know, it's a Gardner-centric club. But any guesses? Would you be willing to guess what our problems are? What our one problem is?
What Zlotnick had to say about it?
Yeah, sure.
I couldn't even guess at what his ideas are because I don't think
for the downtown. Well, at least for the downtown, which I don't entirely disagree with him. In all fairness to Representative Zlotnick, but his thought there is that our landlords are to blame for the lack of economic development in our downtown.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Now, those of us who work in economic development say there's a little bit more to it. But I don't.
How did he blame it on landlord?
So that they don't. So in other words, they don't take care of their buildings, and therefore nobody wants to rent downtown. And there is some truth to that if you go building to building. Any of our friend Dean Marcus's buildings certainly are kind of, I don't know, what's the technical terminology? A shit show. I would call them a shit show.
I haven't been in a lot of those buildings, so I don't know, although I hear that from time to time there's some issues with them. I don't know if you can, I mean, blame it on the landlord, one landlord or two landlords, I don't think helps anybody. And secondly, I don't think you can blame it all on a landlord or two landlords or three landlords, because if we had a vibrant tenant base here, if you will, I don't think they would be walking past a lot of those buildings just because a certain person owns it or there's a certain landlord attached to it. So I don't know. I think it goes much deeper than the landlord.
I think that you never have, here's my thoughts on it. You never, in economic development, it's all about the ecosystem, right? And therefore you can never just say, well, it's really about this. You know, it's really this one thing. You can't, it's a collective of all kinds of factors that are happening while we're speaking that have been happening for some time. You know, it's all of that stuff. It's all how it all plays together. You can't, while I appreciate politicians' needs to simplify things to get a point across,
I was just going to say reality, it's oversimplifying. Yeah. You know, I owned a building in downtown Gardner, so I can speak, and I don't think Zlotnick ever has. I don't even know if he's ever had a real job before. But the point is that when you own a building, and I was also a commercial landlord on one of the factory buildings that was taken by the city and leveled in Rare Main Street. And when that same recession that we're talking about, right around when that started to send everybody swirling down the drain, we lost all our tenants. So I can speak from a standpoint of a tenant who literally, we had that building. It was a 4-story building. It was a huge building. It was right around where the police station is now. We had that place filled. We were making money there. We had a gym in there. We had a business that refurbished MRI machines. We had artists in there. We had a furniture business in there. We had all kinds of stuff in there. And then the economy went south. One by one, we lost all our tenants. So you can say, well, here's this landlord. What are they doing with that building? Okay, so first of all, you got a mortgage payment to pay. You got to pay all the bills. The heat a building like that's huge. So the landlord has to pay all the bills, right? So if you only have one or two tenants, you can't pay the bills. You can't fix the building up. You can't do this, that, and the other thing. But somebody like Zlotnick can say, well, geez, look at the condition of that building. He should be fixing that building up. He should make that place look like Taj Mahal. And then the tenants will be coming right down Parker Street, knocking at the door to try to fill that place up. It's not that easy, because unless you're, independently wealthy and one of your hobbies is just fixing up old buildings and attracting tenants, it's not that easy. Like somebody like Dean Marcus. So there's a bottom line for him. He's got to rent it out so that he can pay all his bills and then, keep it maintained, make sure the roof doesn't leak, make sure the windows are brand new, make sure there's, it's environmentally friendly and energy efficient and all this stuff. You just don't snap your fingers and say, okay, here's my beautiful building and all the tenants are going to come. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I totally do.
But it's easy for Zlotnick to say it.
I want to ask the question.
Maybe Zlotnick should come down. By the way, maybe Zlotnick should get some money from Beacon Hill, right? Instead of letting all the money go to Boston, maybe Zlotnick should bring some money in and help some of these landlords fix up some of these old buildings. And then the tenants will come, right? What's that movie? Field of Dreams? So Zlotnick should, instead of blaming the landlords, maybe he should help the landlords build the baseball field, right?
I can hear it. Wait. You hear it?
Yeah. Build it and they will come.
And they will come.
Yes. Okay. So there's an idea. There's an idea. Help the landlords fix these buildings up, so Zlotnick thinks the tenants will just be lining up, right? I don't know. I wasn't there. Is that what he was saying? If it wasn't for the landlords, all the tenants would be lined up.
He didn't say that. He basically said. Let me go back through my notes. He said. He started off by talking about the housing shortage. Now, there I would agree. There's a specific kind of transitional housing that we sorely lack and we need. Downtown, it's not the location. We're close to the highway. That's what he was saying. It's not the economy. I don't know exactly what he means by that, because it is closely tied to the economy, both dynamics within our regional economy and also the national economy as a whole. And I'm talking pre-COVID as well.
Let me just stop you for a second. Let me stop you for 1 second. Keep your spot. I just want to say this: that Rear Main Street plan, has been going on for 15, 20 years. So the same economy that I'm talking about that went south around 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, right in there, we're still in that. It never recovered from that. So if he says it's not the economy, then I must have missed the economy that came in after that time frame. I missed that great economy that came into Gardner.
You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember that one.
6 months last year before the COVID hit. No, wait. So his quote was, "It's not location. It's not the economy. It is strictly a landlord problem."
Okay, I disagree.
Yeah.
And by the way, there are ways to. We talked about this before. I mean, the city, we have a community development and planning department. So we have an economic development coordinator, right, in the city. So if there's a landlord, and I think we did get a couple buildings from this one particular landlord, but if you propose something that has, a mixed use, public, private, partnership type thing, you could slowly get rid of some landlords or some buildings and get it back up to a healthy situation where there's people living upstairs maybe, and then have retail down below. I mean, we still don't even have a building like that in Gardner, do we, somewhere? Do we have any new?
That was really where I wanted to go with this next, which is what can we do, what have we do, what we're not doing, and so forth. So I hear what you're saying, and I agree with it. And I would add that
Cam wants to stop for a second.
Yeah, just for a quick second. Scott, would you mind, would you try reconnect? Because like it was fine at the beginning, but it's been slowly like kind of
Yeah, I
delaying
know.
your response. So
Exactly.
just want to see if
So
we
you
can
want me
reconnect.
to
Just try it,
reconnect?
because yeah, see if that'll
How
maybe
do I
fix
do
it.
that? We just all get off, but we can get back on the same link.
Yeah, we should. You should be. Oh yeah, because
Are you
can you
guys
make me
getting?
host? Can you make me host real
What?
quick, Scott? Can you make me host, and
Yeah,
then
hold on.
you should be able to leave.
I just make, here it is, make host.
Cool.
You
Then
host.
try reconnecting from there, because I don't want to. I don't know how it would affect if the host left and we tried reconnecting, like the recording with all
Okay.
that. So
Hold that thought, because that was a good thought.
SMG. I think are you trying to trigger me when you start talking about politicians making excuses? I get pissed. I'm gonna grab a.
I'm not talking about you.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if you feel that guilty, maybe, I mean, come on, man.
All right.
Did you try? So what I'm gonna do, Scott, because I was about to do this anyways. I'm going to I'm gonna talk about the fact that what's required, in my opinion, is, and I'll give a few specifics, but more of a specific kind of activity from community development and planning, okay? Coupled.
So
Okay.
we'll continue in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, I'd like to offer my thoughts on this. What is the solution? And it's a multifaceted solution, and in a very specific way. Specific to Gardner, we have a Department of Community Development and Planning that could be doing more in very specific ways. Part of that is a sales issue, okay? And part of it is really thinking less about the traditional ways that we do development in municipalities, which is to poach companies, largely large corporate companies, from afar. And we got to be doing what Chris Gibbons from Colorado, Littleton, Colorado, calls economic gardening, okay? Which in short is homegrown, bring in resources, pull in the type of resources necessary to generate and stimulate entrepreneurial growth from within your borders. And you can do this regionally too. It doesn't have to be within one town or one city, but you get my point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Grow organically and what this does in the end for a municipality is commercial tax base from within. You're growing the commercial tax base from within. We cannot strictly blame our community development and planning department for any of these ills, okay? It's multifaceted, and besides that, they're government officials. There's things that government officials can be doing that they're not doing, and I do blame them for that. But there are also things that would either supersede that or need to happen hand in hand with improvements over at City Hall. Our citizenry has to get more engaged. We're talking about a facet of that last week, right? When we were talking about the election and how no matter how much the new candidates who have never successfully held office before ran, and no matter how much money or other types of resources or effort they put into their campaigns, more or less they lost by the same percentage that other prior non-incumbents have lost campaigning against those incumbent candidates,
Right.
both here in the second Worcester, but in other districts, right, throughout central Massachusetts and western Massachusetts. So that speaks to a certain amount of apathy or a lack of, understanding what's going on a daily basis in your community, that needs to change, man. You know what I mean? There also has to be a much bigger belief from the business community. Now, that's not that I'm saying our small businesses downtown have to believe more in Gardner. They already do. Their presence here, their very existence on Main Street points to the fact that they believe and have made a significant investment of money, time, and their heart into downtown. Those other groups I just mentioned a second ago have to work hand in hand with existing business here, not look at it like competition, and attract more, particularly growing them from within to fill all those empty spots. both for small business downtown and various types of service or retail, and also, rethinking new types of larger, medium to large business that could be here. There are large-ish employers, not 1,000 people working for them, but 100, 150 people working for them that would potentially find a place like Gardner very attractive.